Welcome to Interro Bites. These are 15-minute videos taken from my long-form live streams. If you want to see the full video or more, subscribe to Dacquisto and check out the playlists on my main page. Thanks for being here. Enjoy.
Week by week throughout the summer.
She doesn't even have any school stuff, right? I mean, I don't know if you're off during that
No,
time.
I'm completely off. She has a lot of obligations to her parents. Her parents want her down in Miami every chance she gets. All through this town, and there's parents.
All right,
So three different occasions. This at the time, it's like, oh, what's going on with the 18th of July or the week of the 18th? What is this?
So he's saying at the time, he's thinking, what is going on with the 18th of July and the week of the 18th, the week leading up to the 18th? And 3 different times. And he was already questioning it. And he's saying contemporaneously at the time and before Dan was murdered. And then he realized that later on, and he wants to share this with the detectives. Okay. And thank you, Helen. I'm glad. I'm pretty observant, but I miss a lot too. So that's why it's really nice to have several people in here. Go Georgia. You're curious as to how he's doing now. I am too. He's probably going to be a witness. I'm sure he's prepared to be a witness. I don't know that he has to prepare any more than he has because, he's testified twice. I doubt if they'll ask him a whole lot more questions. They might actually ask him more questions if they are allowing his characterization of Charlie Adelson to be allowed, because that wasn't important in the previous trials. New York Patriot Lady says, I like also when he tells Georgia and the court, Wendy told me she lied in court. Now I don't know if she lied about that. Right. What do you know when somebody's lying so much? What the truth even is?
I don't understand what this is.
Okay, so the first thing is the California trip, and it's next.
Yeah.
Then you want to take her to St. Augustine.
Yeah, she wants to stay, and that's just bizarre.
But did you ever make plans to go to St. Augustine?
Yeah, so a week later, again, we sat in front of the calendar, and it was really strange. There was this hesitancy about that weekend. She says, I'll go to St. Augustine, but we have to be back early on Friday.
Early on Friday. What is early on Friday?
We were going to wake up and come straight back from St. Augustine, so we would have got up at 7, been here by 9 or 10.
Okay.
She had picked the kids from school till 4. It didn't make sense.
Okay.
So had they gone to St. Augustine, they would have had to come home by Friday, but she wanted to be home early Friday, even though she didn't have to pick up the kids from school until 4 o'clock. And that didn't make sense. Now, hold on to your harnesses because this next part is chilling.
So I said fine, and my thing was I was going to drop her off and then drive up to Atlanta. I was going to drop her off and go. So that was just strange. It just stuck in my head. Like what?
Because your trip to your friend up in Tennessee, what was the date you were supposed to go?
I was supposed to leave at about 10 or 11 a.m. on Friday the 18th.
Okay.
Because I was supposed to the original trip was to go straight to Atlanta, stay the night in Atlanta, then go up to Tennessee the next day. So I was supposed to leave here at 10 or 11 and get there at 4 or 5.
On Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bingo. There's where the light bulb is really, you can just feel Detective Eisen going, okay, now this all is starting to come together.
That changed. But that was the original.
No, because you left on Thursday.
Yeah, I did.
All right, well, let's jump to that so I can fill in this blank.
Yeah.
Why did you leave on Thursday?
He goes, wait, you left on Thursday? And Jeff is like, yeah, I did. So he's at this point, he's like, okay, I think Detective Eisen is coming along with me on this now. So they're both kind of simpatico here. And I really appreciate this part of the interview.
We'd had a huge fight in late June. I discovered some of their cheating. I was very upset with her. And she had sent me had sort of broken up, basically. But she put me on a 7-day hold.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember that. She sent you an email or something?
Exactly. So the night before, I was so upset. I was just like, fuck this, I'm going. I said, get out of town. I was upset. But that's something my friends have said to me that I've never said this, but my friends have said, Jeff, sometimes it's hard for me to see this clearly. They can see it more clearly. Jeff, you do realize that if you left Friday at 11 a.m. for Atlanta, what this would have looked like, you would have been in custody. You're really.
Oh.
Now, I'm not saying that, but
And there's another one of Detective Isom's. Oh, right. This is huge. And even Jeffrey, at the time, his friends are like, what is happening? And they're probably doing some of the thinking for him. And they're like, you do realize that had you not left early, you would have been basically at least near the scene of the crime, and leaving town at that time, you would have been really seemed suspicious.
Some of my friends, it was like a clumsy attempt to take attention off her, put it on me. I'm not saying that's true. It sounds a little far-flung to me. It sounds a little clumsy to me. But she knew exactly when I was going to leave.
He said it sounded a little clumsy to me. And then when we learned what really did happen and all the mistakes made, it could have been just another clumsy detail.
A riser, and she didn't know I changed my plans, obviously. So I'm glad I changed my plans. I wouldn't blame you guys for being a little more suspicious if you didn't. I mean, if I leave at 11, you just see me driving north 10 minutes after Danny showed up. So that looks suspicious to a lot of people. I know it makes it sound like a criminal mastermind. It may sound crazy to you, but that's what my friends say. So can I go back to the stuff in June?
He said, I know that makes her sound like a criminal mastermind. Yeah, it does. Now, the fact that he didn't do that didn't stop everything from happening. We have to really, we have to take note of that. But it certainly would have been convenient to have the police on his tail for a long time so that they could buy themselves some times. Theoretically, right? What relationships we're getting pictures of Wendy, we are getting a picture of how horrible it was between Wendy and Dan through court documents, through the custody battle, as we call it, or the back and forth with the legal back and forth wrangling. Of course, the divorce was ugly. And look at this relationship that you have with Jeffrey. Not a fun person, not a fun girlfriend. Hey, I mean, I can't imagine.
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
Any questions you want to ask? I know I talk fast and
just a little faster than I'm used to.
My dad's from Boston, so I'm an adopted Southerner, but I haven't slowed down. So, in June, these are just my impressions, but it was 5 or 6 times in June. I'm playing with the kids. We had a good family life, terrible romantic relationship because she was cheating me all the time. But I'm home with the kids with her, nice family life.
You at her house out on
every time, yeah.
With Cameron.
Exactly, off Aqua Ridgewood. Nice house. So 4 or 5 times in late June, I'm playing with the kids, reading them stories. I was very close to Ben in particular, spent a lot of time with those children. I look out of the corner of my eye, and Wendy would be in the kitchen crying for no reason whatsoever. And at the time, what it looked like to me is she's like taking it all in, and she looked like she was grieving something. And I would say, what's wrong? And she'd say, nothing's wrong. Or make up some bullshit story. She lied so much, it was hard to know. But in retrospect, it makes me worry a lot because it looked like she was wrestling with something. It wasn't suspicious, it was just weird. But in retrospect, it's like, wow, let's assume she knew something was going to happen. That's how a person might react, She made a choice, but.
That's late June.
That's late June. So that happened enough times that I talked to my friends about it. What she was talking about in June, relocation to Miami, how terrible it was to be stuck in Tallahassee, crying like I got stuck here, I didn't choose this, I can't stand it. And she talked about the fact that the only way she could ever relocate is if something happened to Danny.
Now, did she actually say that?
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
This is the first time you've mentioned that.
Here again, yeah, she did. Like, he's not like, yeah, she did. You know, he's like, yeah, she did. I mean, this is not something he's joyful about or happy to share. Obviously, he wants to share this now, but in the context of a higher cause then. But he's like, yeah, she did. Now he's going to clarify this a little bit. But Ison was like, what? Wait, you never said that before. This is really important.
I don't think so. I think I did mention that to Investigator Hale.
Okay.
I think I did. Well, no, it wasn't. I had 3 interviews with Investigator Hale.
Okay.
The next 2 was me trying to tell him things like this. I don't think he was hearing me.
Okay.
So
Now here he says, this is interesting. He had 3 interviews with Detective Hales. And he felt like a lot of what he said didn't come across. The interviews that we saw, Investigator Hale did seem receptive, but it sounds like there were more interviews than what have been released that we know of.
So no, she didn't say that I killed Danny. She didn't say that word for word. But it was because I was saying, hey, we're about to like get serious here. Are you going to be here? Because she hated so much. I need to know what's going to happen. And she's like, well, the only way that let me give you the context. The only way I could leave is if something happened to Danny. But if that did happen, that would be a tough decision. I would probably need to go back to Miami to be with my parents.
The only way that I would leave is if something happened to Danny. And he's going on and on about how she went on and on about not liking Tallahassee at all.
So that scenario came from her, but it was a response to a question from me. So I mean, I guess I need to be fair about that one.
Sure.
But it was, and it's true, right? I mean, it was. I asked if Danny might move with her. She said she would not be willing to do that. But she was talking about that.
She would not be willing to do that?
No, she did. Well, Danny had job offers from all over the country constantly, and she didn't want to live in Houston or St. Louis or things like that. I mean, she was miserable here. She was here just because she came with Danny. She didn't like her job. She didn't like the area. She didn't like split custody.
She didn't like her job. She didn't like the area. Obviously, she didn't like split custody.
I don't know that people knew how upset she was. I mentioned to you before you came in.
And that's, I'm going to just highlight that. I don't know if people knew how upset she was because she had all these friends and was this little social butterfly, as he described her. But he's saying that really Danny and him and possibly Daniel Sachs were the only people that probably got a glimpse behind the curtain to know who she really was.
To the room when I said this, but this is the time period. I don't know the exact day. I'm so distracted by relationship stuff, I can't quite remember. But
he had her
bamboozled. Charlie had looked into having Danny killed
Howdy.
in December 2013. She meant it dead serious. I wish to God I'd follow up on that at the time.
Okay, I got to pause there because that was too huge. And I was saying hi to Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Okay, let's go back. Sorry about that.
Charlie had looked into having Danny killed in the summer of 2013. She meant it dead serious. I wish.
Okay, so this is when she's saying, apart from the joke that everyone heard that Charlie made about hiring a hitman, she told him in June that Charlie had looked into hiring a hitman and she meant it dead serious.
God, I'd follow up on that at the time, trying to figure out us. And I thought, well, Charlie's crazy. I can imagine that, but certainly he's not crazy enough to do that. So I didn't worry about it.
That's your interpretation.
It's not my.
No. Let's back up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's get into the context of your conversation with her where that comes up about Charlotte.
Please.
So
she just she's talking about Danny. She's completely.
Where are we at?
We're at her house in the living room in late June.
Late June of 2013.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah,
I'm sorry, 2014.
Yeah, late June. And you know what? This might have even been. This is sometime between June 20th and the Monday before Danny was shot.
Okay.
And I want to say it was right before, but I don't trust my memory on that the date. And she's talking about Danny because it's all she ever talked.
So this is where some more light bulbs start sparking. So pay close attention now. We have about 10 more minutes here.
Danny wasn't a human being. He was Satan.
He was what?
He was Satan.
Satan,
Yeah.
okay.
And what was real
So
Strange about this was
you have
that
things to
January,
say.
February, March, they had a lot of court stuff, and I could see why she'd be so pissed off at Danny. Danny had calmed down. He liked his new girlfriend. The judge had read him the riot act in court when they went to court the one time and told the other attorney, you need to calm your client down and stop having your client write his own legal briefs. I'm sick of reading this crap. Danny was going to get his butt handed to him by the court, and Wendy was going to have to concede a couple things, but she was going to win, everybody thought.
No, everybody didn't think that. The Adelsons didn't think that she wasn't going to win, but okay.
And he had calmed down. He really had. So I was trying to say, we could talk about Danny a little less. Danny's chill. Danny's happy with Amy. This is good. This is good for us, I was starting to see Danny a little more realistically at that point. So she's in the middle of these conversations. She's just ranting and raving about Danny. Very angry with Danny. She's very sensitive. And the worst thing you could do for Wendy is point out that she's not perfect.
The worst thing you can do for Wendy is point out that she's not perfect.
And that's what Danny represented to her is, say you're a liar, things like that. Anyway, she just comes out of the blue and I said, well, I just wish something, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was like, this isn't going to ever be fixed in the way you want it. This is, you're linked to this man for your life. There's no fix for this, but you have to fix what you think and feel. And she said, well, Charlie did look into having him killed last summer. He said it would cost about $15,000.
So just take this one in, the context. They're talking, Wendy and Jeffrey are talking about how angry Wendy is about this disagreement about custody. Her wanting to go back to Miami with the children. Him not wanting her mother to be with the children without supervision. Wendy is super angry, and this is when, as a solution to this problem, because he's saying, hey, you're married to him for you're divorced, but you share children. This is a lifelong commitment. This is the way it is. And she's like, no. Let me tell you what my brother told me.
15,000?
That's right. Seems cheap to me, but you would know better than that.
Sickening.
And
It's, I want to make sure I understand this completely.
Please.
So June, what was the date?
Between June 20th and March 14th, let's say. I think it's probably I think it's closer to July, between June 20th and July 14th. I think it's closer to July 14th.
So between June 20, so we had the earlier June things that he laid out. Now we're in late June. So when he brought that his notes in, he actually had it chronological, and he was like, I am definitely need to get my points across here. And he really did a good job of laying it out chronologically. So now we're talking about the week before Dan's murder. And we're narrowing it down.
Okay. She says, Charlie
did actually look into having him killed last summer. And he was told it would cost $15,000. And one of Charlie's...
This is just paraphrased, but I want to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
Charlie did look into having
Danny killed last summer. It would cost about $15,000. And that's not exactly word for word, but that's pretty close to what she said. Wish to God I had followed up. But how do you respond to that? What do you say?
What did you say?
I changed the subject to us. I was interested in working our relationship.
Poor guy was so bamboozled about that relationship and keeping, he probably felt like, oh my gosh, the kids may go back to Miami, but here it is. I mean, he did say, I wish I would have said something. And Detective Hales says, well, what did you say? Right. And I think it was earlier or maybe later. I can't remember, but at least one time, I think more than once in another interview where Detective Hales said, well, you're not going to call us just because somebody makes a statement. So he reassured him.
Did she ever bring that up again?
No, never again. But what worries me is that the speech pattern,
Well, and just to clarify, Detective Isom says, did she ever bring that up again? When they narrow this down, this was the Monday before Dan was murdered, and she broke up with Jeff the next day. So there wouldn't have been a chance for her to bring it up again because she wasn't communicating with him anymore that week.
I'm not trying to play FBI profiler here, but
It's kind of like, I told you half a truth instead of half a lie.
that's how she lies. That's exactly. I'm sure you got that on anyway. So it doesn't have the impulse control just to say nothing in high stress situations, but gives you this half-assed version. Yeah. So I thought about that a lot.
But you do remember the amount is 15,000?
I do remember that.
He remembered the
No
amount.
further than that, nothing else?
There's nothing else. I wish I followed up. I beat myself up about this.
Oh, you didn't.
What am I gonna do? Call you guys and say my girlfriend said something crazy? I don't know.
No.
The thing that worried me about Charlie is he has a very
So this is